Your assessment of the receiving players in Dallas.
It showed up today. It honestly did. There was opportunities in the fourth quarter to make plays. You see there on the pass rush by Peppers on 4th and 10, they're featuring Deontay Thompson.
Right.
Yeah, I know you thought to yourself, who? But
I had to look at the shot sheet
right,
twice.
That was their feature guy in a drive that was a must-have drive to stay in this game. And so you're going to have to try to figure out a way that Ezekiel Elliott has more than 15 carries. Like we can focus on this receiving core, but coming into the game, if you know you have guys that you've never been able to depend on because they've never been there, you can't decide that you're going to throw the ball 29 times and only run it 15. Ezekiel Elliott should have been featured early and often. I felt like they could have used him more in the screen game, the check down game, option routes against linebackers. Coming out of Ohio State, quote unquote, this was what they loved about him. And they haven't used him that way in the league at all. And especially now when you know you're missing guns on their outside. I don't like the way that Jason Garrett went about running this game, and it showed in the production of Dak Prescott and his offense.
Preach that, man. I mean, listen, your identity in Dallas is based on Ezekiel Elliott and an imposing offensive line. I understand you're missing Travis Frederick, the center, the all-pro center. I get it, but you still have to have that mentality. If that's what you've been the last few years, you can't just change it. You're not a passing football team. Drop it back, throw that thing 30 times against a pretty good Panther defense, by the way. Why are you trying to be what you're not, man? You got to know your identity. When you go into ball games, especially the first game of the season, why are you changing who you are, man? You better show the world, even if you go down losing, who you are and what you're about.
Player.
Your best player.
Without a doubt.
Beyond a shadow of a doubt. So as many touches as you can get, it should have been just like Connor from the Steelers, right? Whether it's throwing it to him, handing it to him, whatever you do, that's the feature of your offense. And if you don't win with that, at least you lost with your best. You did not lose with your best today.
I want to mention the Norv Turner factor. This guy has been around the league as long as anyone, from Washington to Chargers to the Cowboys, all that stuff. What imprint, I understand it was a 16-point performance, but what imprint did you see that a guy like that, an NFL veteran, put on this talented cast of offensive players?
Well, you heard what RC said, right? He leads in with McCaffrey twice down the middle, and then all of a sudden he's going to pull it the next and let Cam take it. He also loves to use the tight end. Olsen going down would hurt his game plan because he wants to stretch the ball vertically, and he loves to use tight ends to get mismatches down in the seam. And so with Olsen going out, I'm sure he had to adjust, but that's the type of vet you have in Norv Turner. Even when a guy goes down, he understands how it needs to happen. So if you're looking at with Cam Newton, whether it be him trying to pull the ball, hand the ball, where he has to get rid of it, timing is going to be the key for Norv Turner and Cam Newton as they progress forward. And again, not a great performance at 16 points, but for this team, there are going to be a lot of ugly wins. This is not a team you're going to hang 35 a game. It's just not built that way. And so Norv will continue to work with this team. But I tell you, man, I was impressed for his first week.
Yeah, I think I was impressed with the fact that they had to adjust to losing Greg Olsen. You saw Greg early on in the game working the inside of the field, had 2 catches, both over 15 yards. And you can see that was something that they wanted to work against the Dallas Cowboys. And when you lose that, now you have to have a different game plan. They moved to more McCaffrey catching passes. Cam Newton ended up with 10 rushes. And so you saw him kind of work and manipulate his game around the pieces that he had. Right now, outside, they're not a team that you're scared of, whether it's Funches. Obviously, Torrey Smith is a deep ball guy, but, you know, Cam is more of an intermediate thrower, a guy that throws in between the hashes. And so when you saw some of those things go down, he had to find a way to win. He had to find a way to create points, and he was able to do this. And now when you go into this week, headed into Atlanta, you plan without Greg Olsen. You try to find a way that Christian McCaffrey becomes more of a feature receiver inside the hashes. And I think Norv is the type of guy that's had enough experience with different players, different types of offenses, that he can do that and have this team be successful.
You know, one thing that stood out to me watching that game and seeing how little production the Panthers offense put up against the Cowboys is looking at what happened earlier today between the Saints and the Bucs. Those dudes put up 88 points. All right, so they can clearly score in that division.
Or they can't play defense.
One of the two. So the question becomes, because the Falcons didn't have a good offensive performance on Thursday night against the Eagles. So can this division be determined by who has the best offense, or is defense really going to win this division again?
Oh man, listen, defense wins championships no matter how you cut it.
Championships, but division, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but if you can bottle up offenses and grind the ball, like if the Panthers can get a grind going in and you start being able to work it and take check downs and do those things, keep your defense fresh and then put them on, it all of a sudden goes good. Defense is going to matter.